Hi everyone, it's Dr. Anthony here again, and in this video I'd like to share with you our top 10 tips for creating visually engaging content videos using Content Samurai. The 10 visual tips I describe in this video can make a huge difference to the level of engagement and interest you get from your audience, which in turn will naturally boost your rankings and increase the amount of traffic your videos generate to your website. So here's our top tips. Tip number 1. Include a picture of yourself to build connection and trust. You may have noticed that when I create these videos, the opening slide often contains a headshot picture. The reason for this is that it lets you know that I'm a real person. When you create videos for your audience, you should consider doing the same thing if it suits your business. Most people prefer to hear from and connect with a person rather than a disembodied corporate voice. Including a picture of yourself makes your videos much more personal and is a great way to build rapport and trust with your audience. Tip number 2. Limit the amount of text on each slide. One of the common questions our support team get asked is how much text should I have on each slide? Generally speaking, we recommend having only 2 or 3 lines of text on each slide. For example, let's compare these two slides. This first slide only has 3 lines of text and you can pretty much read it at a glance. However, this slide contains 5 lines of text and suddenly it feels like you have to stop and read a big wall of text, which most people do not enjoy. Having a maximum of 3 lines of text on each slide makes it very easy to read and follow your video. While we're talking about the text on your slides, here's 2 quick extra tips. If you find that the text is stretching to the very edges of your slide, consider putting in a line break to wrap the text to the next line. Personally, I like to see a small block of text in the center of the screen that is very easy to read. Also, try and avoid the situation in which you have a single word on a line by itself. Generally, this looks a little odd, and it is usually better to move the word up to the previous line or onto the next slide. Tip number 3. Create a secondary reading path. A good way to think of your secondary reading path is that it highlights the key words you'd want your audience to notice if they were skimming through your video quickly. For example, let's take a look at these 3 slides. By the end of this short video, you'll know exactly how to fix a hole in your wall without needing a plasterer and for less than $20. Now let's take a look at the secondary reading path, which is made up of just the words that are highlighted on these 3 slides. Short video, fix a hole in your wall, less than $20. As you can see, if someone was skimming through this video and only took in the highlighted words, they would still understand the main message being presented. This secondary reading path makes your video much easier to understand and absorb, because instead of having to read every single word, your viewers can browse the highlighted words, which is a lot less mentally demanding than reading a lot of text. Tip number 4. Vary your slide layouts. Our brains are hardwired to take notice of visual changes in our environment. Movie directors take advantage of this fact by constantly changing camera angles to provide visual variety. You can do the same thing in your videos by changing the layouts you use in your slide deck. For example, you might have 3 slides that use an image in the background and then switch to a slide with an image on the left. Mixing things up a little will help keep your viewers engaged, but don't fall into the trap of changing layouts on every slide, as this can be annoying. Tip number 5. Use a particular layout to signpost sections. A great way to provide a visual sense of structure to your video is to reserve one particular layout to act as a signpost for the different sections of your video. For example, in a top 10 tips video like this one, you might decide to use the text on left, image on right layout every time you introduce a new tip. Using one layout for a particular purpose like this helps guide your audience through your video and visually reinforces the fact that your video is well structured. Tip number 6. Use the same image on multiple slides. A great way to reduce the number of images you need to find for your video is to use the same image on multiple slides. For example, here you can see that the text changes 5 times while the image in the background stays the same. This gives you the feeling of having an image on every slide, but it drastically reduces the number of images you actually need to find. We've found this tip to be a huge time saver and a great way to quickly produce professional looking videos. Tip number 7. Use full screen images to act as a pattern interrupt. Another great way to keep your audience engaged with your videos is to present a few text slides and then switch to a full screen image that is relevant to your video. This is called a pattern interrupt. What this means is that the viewer is watching and reading your text slides, and then suddenly they see a full screen image. This sudden difference causes them to sit up and take notice, which in turn helps keep them engaged with your content. The way to do this in Content Samurai is to add a picture to the background of your slide, and then simply click the Hide Text button over here. Tip number 8. Use the right kind of images. When you are using images behind your text, it's important to select the right kind of images. The easiest way to explain this is to look at an example. In this example, you can see that the image behind the text is very busy and it makes it difficult to read the text. In contrast, when we change the image to something like this, the text is suddenly very easy to read. Generally speaking, you should try and find simple images that are not too complicated, busy, or distracting. Tip number 9. Use the right size images. In order to make the images you upload to Content Samurai fit your slideshow properly, you'll need to make sure that they are the right size or resolution. To work as a full slide image, your images should be 1280 by 720 pixels. To work as a half slide image, your images should be 640 by 720 pixels. If you need help resizing your images, www.wikihow.com is a great place to find help. All you have to do is search for Resize Image and you'll find instructions for Mac and PC. Tip number 10. Use black and white and colour images. One interesting visual effect that is often used in advertising is to use black and white images for describing a problem and then colour images for describing the solution to that problem. You've probably seen this technique used on late night infomercials where overweight people struggling in the gym are shown in black and white, and then fit people are shown in full colour using a particular piece of exercise equipment. If you are creating a sales video, this can be a useful technique for creating a visual contrast between life before and after using your product. So there you have it, our top 10 tips for creating visually engaging content that will keep your audience glued to their screens. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have any additional tips to share, please leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you.